everybody, it's Kevin at Bear Creek Honey. Today what I wanted to do was talk about the 4-frame double nuke, the 4/4 Hive system. It's really not any secret that that I attempted to copy this design from Michael Palmer, a very distinguished beekeeper in North America. Um, but until you get to use the hives themselves, you're not sure exactly what to expect. Now, I watched all his videos and tried to do what he did, up to a point, and sometimes I went a little off schedule a little bit, and he was actually quite dead on as far as how these hives work and how they really do explode early in the spring, and you can get lots of brood production very quickly in spring, and in summer too. I mean, when you're starting out, um, they bees like to climb, as it were. Uh, so having these narrower, taller hives actually helped. Now, I had 2 hives over at my farm apiary, and I'm just using this one sitting here as an example, that I started pretty early in the spring, and they exploded, both sides. I installed I had a 5-frame nuke actually that was building up, so I put those in there, and I put 2 stories on right away because they were ready for it. And it wasn't too much longer, and the whole hive was full. And right when I put it on, I not only put the 2 frames on, I also put a nuke on. Now, they didn't go up in not the nuke, a super up top. Now, they didn't go into the super right away, but they did after a while. And so what I did was, since the 4-frame nuke, obviously you're utilizing your 10-frame box with a divider in the middle, and then you have 2 separate 4-frame boxes on each side, and this is separates two queen right colonies. They have entrances at separate sides, but you don't have to have entrances at separate sides since this isn't the mating nuke. You could have them both out here, but this is how I built them. I put entrances on either side. In the future, I think I'm just going to do them side by side. That's getting a little off topic. But how this works is, I mean, they kind of share a wall, share a heat wall. In the wintertime, it's even more beneficial because they share the heat in the wall, and their combined nests will actually be right in the middle of the hive. And that's great. And we haven't really gotten to that part yet here in December. It's December, I don't know, 16th, 17th, somewhere around there. And you've got top covers on, and these separate the 2 hives. And now what you're trying to do is separate the 2 queens. The bees themselves really don't matter, and that's why I've been watching some videos and stuff, and one of the videos said you could put supers on, and both the hives will work in tandem, filling up the supers, and it won't matter that there's 2 queens working. They don't really care, and that was true. I put the supers on, and man, they started building comb in there, both colonies. And when I first started, I put the first super on, left it there. I did my last hive inspection. They weren't quite filling up that first super right away. But I did my last hive inspection. This side was just loaded with brood. I mean, it was so packed. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is ready to explode. And this one was the same way. And then I saw that they were starting to fill up that super, and I'm like, good, they're filling it up. So to give them more space, what I ended up doing was I put another super on and another super on. I think I ended up having 4 supers on, and that really does work. But this winter I have a lot of free time, and So I've been watching a lot of videos and rewatching some videos too, and rewatching some of Michael Palmer's videos. When I ended up having like 3 or 4 supers on, well, I'm not pulling off 4 supers to do a hive check on these hives, to do an inspection. So I just kind of left them alone. I mean, I'd walk up and there'd be a ton of bees on this side, ton of bees on that side. They were coming in and out, being busy, and I was good with it. So flash forward, we ended up having a little bit of a dearth, a big dearth actually, and those 4 supers up there, the bees started consuming the honey that was being stored up there. I was thinking I was going to get 200 pounds of honey off this hive, and ended up, I think I only got 40 pounds when it was all said and done. But that's not really where I'm going with this. One of the things that I learned was, or what I noticed was, after I took the supers off and I extracted my honey, you know, I put the 2 hives back together, but I did an inspection on this side and this side. Well, at some point during the season, this hive, there was no queen in it, and it was full of bees, but there was 0 brood on this side. And I'm sitting there going, oh, you gotta be kidding me. They swarmed and you know, created queen cells, and the queen took off, you know, and hive, part of the hive took off, and they tried to create a new virgin queen, and it didn't take. And I obviously I'll missed this because I hadn't done an inspection on there for a month. And so I just, you know, business as usual. After I took the supers off and whatnot, I took some frames of brood out of this one and I stuck it in this one, and then they started creating their virgin on this side, which I expected them to do, because now I'm back to 2 separate colonies. But when I was watching Michael's videos the other day, a revelation hit me. I mean, it hit me like a brick, and I can't believe that I didn't catch it. And he said it. He was out in the field, and he just said it in passing, and he didn't say it like it was a big thing to him, but to me, it made all the sense in the world.
You can put an excluder on top of a double nuke box, as long as the excluder is contacting the divider. If the wires don't contact the divider, the queens can cross under the wires and get at each other. If they can't cross under, they're confined to their cavity. You could put an excluder and supers on, and the bees will go up from both nucleus colonies and work side by side in those supers, and not fight with each other. And they don't go down the other side, and the ones from this one go kill that queen because she doesn't smell right, or vice versa. They don't do that.
They know how to.
They're both laying queens. That's all that they care about, is that they're laying queens. They don't fight. That's a fallacy. This thing about you got to put the queen cage in the hive for a certain number of days so they get the smell right and they get used to her smell, that's not true. That's what we've been taught, but it's not true. You take somebody like Brother Adam. So Brother Adam would go to he knew a hive had to be requeened. So he'd go to a mating nuke and pull the cage out and pull the queen out and put her in a cage. Go to the apiary where the hive is that needed to be requeened. Pull the old queen out, put her in a cage, open the cage up and run the new queen that just got pulled out of the mating nuke. Run her right in, take the old queen back to the mating nuke, run her right in. No smoke, no paper, no candy plugs at the end. It's because they're laying queens. They smell like laying queens. They act like laying queens. You take a queen that you bought in the mail, she's not a laying queen. She's now a non-laying queen. I catch my queens.
For a few days, so.
It does overnight. So I catch somewhere 100 and something queens every 4 days. Bring them home. I put them on my table. Big fatties. In the morning, they're shrunk up. They're no longer laying queens. You put one of those in a hive like that, and they'll kill her. So it's not about the smell. So they don't go over and kill each other's queens. The only problem I've ever seen is when one of them got superseded. They didn't raise a queen on that side because they already had a queen on the other side. So That's the only issue I've ever seen with that. Well, the problem is when you take that and you take these supers off when they're full by putting a triangular bee escape on top of the queen excluder. And then you put your supers back on top of the triangular bee escape, and the bees go back down into the nukes, whichever ones they feel like going into. It's not like, oh, we live in this nuke and we live in that nuke. They just go down. Then you take the honey off, and now you don't have one drop of honey in the bottom there, in the brood nests, because they put all their honey up above. And they got nothing to eat, and you have to feed them immediately or they'll starve to death. I didn't like that. I mean, I feed my bees, but I'd rather not have to feed them everything as they winter on as sugar. I'd like to see them wintering on honey. So I quit doing that.
But he said that if your queen on the one side or the other absconds, takes off, and you have supers on, and you're creating honey, they won't create another queen on this side. And the reason they won't is because they still think they're queen right. All the queen pheromones are coming up, going through the super, and coming down. Now the bees are sharing. All the bees are coming in and they're storing honey in this side and that side. But the queen, because there's a queen excluder below the supers, the queen can't get over here to lay any brood. So that's why this one was broodless completely. And that's why they didn't create a queen. This hive, it acted as one big hive, and they thought they were queen right. So that is one of the things that you really need to think about when you're doing this. Now, when I first started this whole endeavor for creating this, my whole reason for doing this was not to get honey off of this hive. It was to create bees, to make more bees, to make splits, to take brood out, and to populate some of my weaker hives. And I totally nixed that idea when I watched a video and somebody said that you could get honey, and I'm like, man, these two colonies are exploding, look at all the honey that I could get. And I didn't use the hive for the reason that I intended, and that was a failure on my part. But that little blip by Michael Palmer in one of his videos, he was out in the field when he said it, it hit me like a train. And I've seen the University of Guelph, and they do the same thing. They put supers on, they do doubles, and they put supers on, and they never mentioned that. But Michael, he just said it in passing, and it was just like a wow for me. So if your whole intention is to have two nukes, I think you're better suited to leave it in two nukes. And if they need more space, you do like he does. When you first start out, you're going to start out with 2 4-frame nukes, and then when they need more space, you're going to take a frame brood, move it up, and put it in a second slot up top, and then put some foundation next to that. And the bees will move up to that one, and then when they fill that, and they're kind of exploding out, instead of putting another box on top, take the middle box off, set your foundation in the middle, and they will start filling out that middle space, and then stack them up 2, 3, 4, whatever you need. And don't be afraid to take frames out and use them in your production hives, because that's why you make these nukes. That's the whole idea behind these nukes, is to take frames of brood out, stick them in those hives, especially during your nectar flow. And you're going to get bee bombs, and now you're going to have plenty of bees to produce honey in those hives. You can take them out and use them in your cell builders for grafting queens. You can take them out and start making splits. Walkaway splits, or if you're grafting, you can take them and make 1 frame in each 2-frame nuke, and put a grafted queen cell in each one. There's so many things that you can do with these nukes, and I totally disregard the whole reason that I built four of these boxes. I totally disregarded that because it was exploding so much. I said, man, look at all those bees in that hive. Man, I could make some honey off of that. And that was a failure on my part and a lesson learned. And I just wanted to make that point to you. And I hope it helps you if you're thinking about doing this. I hope it helps you make the decision on what you want to do. Yeah, you can get a little bit of honey out of it. But like I said, if your queen leaves on the one side, she gets killed. What I don't even know why it might have absconded. Maybe it got too hot in that colony and she just absconded with some of the colony. I don't know, but this hive just started using that space. There was no reason to raise a queen because the whole colony was queen right. And this is kind of what I'm talking about here. You put the super on and you have a queen excluder underneath, and all the bees come up, go into there, and they'll go back down right into this side. So now you essentially have one big hive with a center divider right down the middle. They don't care. Bees don't care. It'd be like them building comb in a wall cavity in your basement. They don't just settle for one cavity. They'll go between 2x4s. I hope that helps you. And if you got any comments on this, I'd be happy to discuss it with anybody. Anyways, like I said, that was my revelation for the day, and I thought I'd share it with you. So, till next time, happy bees.